you've ever asked yourself, how can I get the swing and the golf game that I've always imagined without trying every tip, every training aid, watching every video after video on social media, then this podcast is for you. Welcome. I'm Daniel Guest, and welcome to the Imagine Golf podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Imagine Golf and PXG. All right, welcome back, Imagine Golf. Super excited today. The product geek in me is coming out today, and I could talk about golf products till I'm blue in the face, as my mom used to say. But super excited to have the guys from Rimac Golf on here because I ran into them at the PGA show. Actually saw you guys. I think weren't you there like 2 or 3 years ago as well? Didn't you come out like 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, last year was our second year.
Yeah, we've been there
Second
last
year,
couple of
okay.
years.
All right, fair. So I saw you the first time you were there. Didn't stop by the booth. Didn't really even know what it really was, to be honest. I have an automotive background. My parents were in the car business for 6 generations. So I knew it was something, pressure oriented, but I really didn't know. And then this coming year, I stopped by and was amazed by the product. So, gentlemen, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about the product, but more importantly, like how it even came to be, because you weren't born in the product wasn't born in the golf sphere, if you would.
Well, I guess I'll start with that. It started in automotive because we manufacture this device that you can see behind me here, and that is used to test the compression of valve springs. And
Right.
valve springs, of course, are in all of the automotive internal combustion engines. You'll see 8 or 16 of them typically. They're paired in there. They all have to be identical. They get checked after every race. They're used in races from weekend racing up to races with hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars involved, just depending on the type of engines and the prize money. And so I figured if that device was good enough for a $300,000 engine, it might be good enough to check a $6 golf ball. And so one weekend, I popped in some golf balls, and amazingly enough, we found that in one sleep, we got 3 different bounces, 3 different compression levels. Dropped them on the floor. We could see a difference between them, and clearly that led, without even going to MIT, it led to the thought that maybe they're going to come off the face of a putter faster. And lo and behold, we got
Yeah,
Quintic over in
let
England
me
to
stop
test
you
it,
there for a
and we
second.
found out it was true.
Yeah, let me stop you there for a second. So I found this story fascinating. You're hanging out one day and you pop a golf ball in there, right? And were you a golfer beforehand? Did you have any like idea, like, hey, you know what? Or was it just random? You're like, hey, I got some time on my hands. Let me stick this in there and press it down.
Well, Daniel, let's make this clear. I play golf. I am not a golfer. Let's just
Fair.
clear that at the outset. But no, I was just in on a weekend. The owner comes in Saturday. Had 3 balls in my pocket. Was going to play that afternoon, and just stuck it into the machine. Stuck one after another, and found out I was getting different readings. And then I did go right
Yeah,
directly to the warehouse, drop them on the floor. Found out they didn't bounce the same height, and I knew right away that. Well, put it simply, when my putts stop short of the hole, I know it's the ball's fault, not mine.
fair, absolutely fair. Um, this is not a new device, right? It's been around since the 30s. The patent ran out like in the late 40s, I think I saw, or something like that. How come Rimac's the only company doing it? How come someone hasn't duplicated it or stole the technology, or why just you guys?
Well, Booth, why don't you give that a go?
Well, I mean, the device itself in the valve spring world alone is a very complex device that I would more than welcome someone to attempt to copy it. It's the mechanism itself is challenging to create in
Got it.
itself, but then to turn it into a golf ball machine, that takes 36 steps of moving pieces, changing it, replacing parts, and some precision calibration. So you got 36 steps to take the already hard to make machine into something more challenging to give it the level of accuracy that's required for this type of work.
Well, let's talk about knocking it off. What you basically
Okay.
have is a machine that can apply 1,000 pounds of pressure, okay? And so you have inside a piece of steel, and you press on that piece of steel, and it moves at a tiny amount. And guess what? That tiny amount is moving gears that are about the size of the gears that you would have in a pocket watch. So imagine the mechanical engineering
Got it.
required to get from 1,000 pounds down to a pocket watch gear, and that's why, as Booth said, if you want to
Yeah.
knock it off, step right up.
Yeah, go for it. Have at it.
It's
Right.
no one's
I
done
mean,
it since
it was an
1930.
easy question for me though, because I know, right? That's what struck me as odd, and it's a simple looking machine. It doesn't weigh a whole lot, right? 20 pounds or something like that, right? It's
Yeah.
pretty compact. But to what you just said, it makes all the sense in the world. Otherwise, people would have done it, right? Um, my history with golf balls is kind of funny, man. I always played whatever the pros played, right? I didn't know any better. My coaches didn't know any better. I was in love with Balata balls when they were around. I was in love with Pro V1 when they first came out. And then I just pretty much went on this tear where I would almost try any golf ball in search of just better whatever, better spin, better consistency, better whatever they were marketing at the time. I believe me, I tried them all, and I came to this conclusion that most of it was marketing speak. That the balls didn't really do a whole lot of difference. Now we're talking about like the late '90s, mid 2000s, and stuff. Um, and I still kind of stand by that. That really the technology really wasn't doing a whole lot. I mean, even today, you cut golf balls open from one year to the next, and they're totally different than they were, when they originally made the whatever claims they were. But then I got fitted for a golf ball about 5 years ago, and it was a big difference, and it was an eye-opening experience. Talk to us about the difference in golf balls. Do you see that same level of difference over the years and different manufacturers and stuff?
Well, they're definitely, I mean, in the sense of different from, looking. I mean, you cut them in half and you've got
Not
2,
necessarily
3,
looking,
4,
but
sometimes 5
how about
layers.
performance? Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I can tell you that they perform differently on the Rimac machine, and they don't bounce differently, and go the same distances when you hit them. But how that is
Right.
based on what's on the inside, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You guys
basically,
have a
they
unique
changed
tester.
the
You call
generation.
it the roller coaster.
Oh, yeah, you've seen some of our videos then showing how we emulate a putt.
Yeah. Talk to it's an amazing idea. I thought it was brilliant.
Why don't we just show them how you do it?
There it
I'll
is.
take, uh,
Yeah, you got a live demo here.
here's the real live demo here, and we
Nice.
put a stimp we put a stimp meter, like this, and then normally you put a golf ball on a stimp meter, you put the golf ball up here at the end, and then you lift it until it falls out, and then you measure how many feet it rolls away, and if it rolls 12 feet away, then you say that green has a speed of 12, okay?
Right.
Well, in order to do
Right.
testing with golf balls, we had to be able to strike them the same, but we didn't have a robot handy. So we basically decided to put a steel ball. You see this steel ball here? And so we just decided to put a steel ball
Yeah.
in the upper part. And then we go like this. And now we can raise it up slowly, and we raise it very, very slowly. And then at some point, this thing is going to fall out. And lo and behold, it's going to hit the golf ball, and it's going to do the same thing identically each time. So we know right away if one of them rolls 11 feet and the other one stops 29 inches shorter, well, you've just seen the difference between potentially a 100 compression ball and a 50 compression ball on 11 feet. And this past weekend, watching the RBC down there in Hilton Head, the number of balls that was stopped just short of the hole, whether they were chips or whether they were putts. There were just so many thousands and millions of dollars maybe being won or lost on a matter of inches. And I really have to wonder whether or not a lot of that was the ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great comment, man. First of all, it's a genius idea what you came up with there. I thought it was hysterical. And I remember, and I'm sure you do, when Bryson like was floating his balls in saline, and
Uh-huh.
everyone thought he was crazy and all that stuff, right? But I didn't see it as crazy. I saw it as like, hey, he's trying to get every advantage he can so that he can win more millions of dollars, right? So I see this the same way,
Exactly.
right? Yeah, it's the same thing,
Yes,
right? Um,
except that this is way more important because golf balls largely are being made today in a concentric way. So they've basically addressed Bryson's problem. The issue here is much bigger, because the range of compression, and the range of desired compression is huge. Do you wanna play with the ball that's 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100? Whatever it is. You just need to know what it is, and once you've decided your optimum range, you have to go with it.
Yeah, let's talk about that really quick. I'm 60 years old. I was always told that the slower you swing, the more likely you cannot compress the ball. So you need a lower compression. And turns out, not only is that not true, but it's not only not true that you can't do that, you can't compress the ball, but it's not true that you need a lower compression. Some of these better players are playing lower compression golf balls. Talk to us about the difference.
Well, you are onto a very important subject. I have in front of me some paperwork that I was looking at this morning, and basically, we were studying the simulator data from a woman whose normal carry is around 240 yards, okay? That's her normal carry, and she, whether she's hitting her driver, her 7 iron, or her 54-degree wedge, she gets more carry in a TrackMan simulator using a 50 compression ball than she does with a high compression ball. I mean, it is totally counterintuitive, and it's totally, opposite of what most people think, because they would assume that at that swing speed, she would overcompress it and lose yardage. Okay, well, we have the data. She did not lose yardage. And then if you take it to the extreme, okay, that was the carry distance. Now, when that ball hits the ground, which one do you think is gonna bounce the most? The one that's as hard as a beach rock or the softer one? So then you're gonna be even further out, and so I think there's a lot to be reexamined here, and when players are playing with softer balls, there's a lot of reason for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the data took me by surprise, right? When I saw the low compression ball roll out farther, right, and bounce bigger, I was like, wow, that is a total difference maker for a golf ball, right? And we're just talking chipping and putting for God's sake. That's really what I was looking at, right? To your point about the carry distance, I imagine it's a factor that's unique to the individual golfer, right? It's not just how hard they swing, but it's how they swing, how they strike the ball. There's other data points that matter. It's not just about, hey, I need a low compression ball, correct?
No, I think actually, and you kind of mentioned it. One of my favorite line in one of your in one of I put it out here so I could remember it. My favorite line is, "Your misses should be your misses, not the equipment's misses." And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that line, you have no idea how profound that is. When especially if you look at it in terms of the Rimac machine, because clearly, we're gonna say to you, whatever compression you select, you wanna be sure that day the balls you were playing with are that compression. Now, you may wanna play with an 84, you may wanna play with a 65, you may wanna play with a 100, but when you're playing with a 100, you don't wanna suddenly have one that's 92,
Yeah. Yeah, I
you
think
know?
so to me, like, to your point, like, when I stand over a shot, especially a scoring shot, I wanna think nothing. I wanna have ultimate confidence in everything I'm doing. We talk about all the time and imagine, I wanna make my shot. I wanna do everything, it's an imperfect science, it's an imperfect game, it's an imperfect lie, everything. So, if I do everything I can, then I know I have a better chance of scoring better. And so equipment comes into play in that, right? The equipment's gotta be correct for me, and I gotta believe in it. So more than ever, now, especially now knowing the data now, I gotta figure out I'm gonna test especially when I'm playing competitive golf, right? Not just around with the boys, but now I don't even think about it. I always wanna beat the boys anyway. So I'm gonna pull out 12 balls. I'm gonna test, 6 of them at least, right? and I'm going to pull, maybe I'll test all 12, but I'm going to pull the 6 that are that consistent level. And I'm going to shit can the rest, right? Is it that easy?
Now you're gonna give those to your competitors.
Right, exactly. Give them away.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
so
fair.
generous this morning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
super
Hey,
generous.
you're gonna give them
you
the
know what
high
I
one.
immediately You know what I immediately thought of? I immediately thought of the guy, like my father-in-law, that would search in the woods, and pull out 13 golf balls, right? Have you ever done testing on balls that have been sitting all over the place, or waterlogged balls or refurb balls? You ever done any of that?
Booth, why don't you talk about that?
Well, we get these questions a lot. The one that is sort of most interesting to us is these golf balls that are called reload golf balls,
Yeah,
and you can buy them at Dick's, and they've all been marked as Titleists, and you cut them open, and you get a whole menagerie of colors and compressions when you test them before. And I have no idea what is
right.
going on in there, other than they appear to be counterfeit. But I can't really explain it any other
Yeah,
way. So that's one that's sort of the most interesting because that's sold in like legitimate retail chains, with a legitimate retail name on it. Yet the product inside the box clearly
yeah,
doesn't appear to be that of what it's advertised as.
But it doesn't cost much.
No, it doesn't cost much.
yeah,
But as far as like I mean, the pond golf, I mean, there's a whole like industry around pond golf balls. Of course, new to us when we got into this. And the next thing I know, I heard it's a multi-million-dollar industry. I can't
yeah,
believe it. So pond balls and golf balls that
yeah,
have been out in the elements for seasons, we haven't done any sort of significant or quantitative testing on that, but I got to think that there is some impact to it. And that'd make a great project for somebody in the media to do. Get the machine and run with it.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Mod
Um,
Modern
when I
golf
saw
balls
you
may
guys
not
at the
change much.
PGA show, you had when I saw you guys at the PGA show, you had the bounce test, the 6-foot bounce test. And
Yep.
if you haven't, I'm gonna drop the website in the comments and or in the show notes. I mean, I'm gonna also drop the white paper that you guys have on your website because I thought that was amazing as well. But talk to us about the bounce test because when there's nothing subjective about the bounce test.
Yeah, the bounce test is great because, you don't, I mean, the Rimac gives you a hard number and all this great stuff. But I mean, to see that compression makes a difference, you don't need a significant piece of equipment. You can just do the bounce test and see right there before your very eyes that two golf balls that look similar, it may act very differently. And you can, in your mind, figure out what that may turn into when you're playing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
in the
Are
bounce
you guys
test,
getting
you may
any
recall.
pushback from the manufacturers? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No?
Keep going. Talk about it.
Well, just on this one thing,
No.
to go to your point, the manufacturers, uh, it was commented here, Booth commented to me the other day that, gee, they may now know they're under the microscope of Rimac because, some of the
Yeah,
balls we're
that's what I
seeing
would think.
some of the balls we're seeing are actually, looking better than we expected.
Yeah, like the tolerances
Okay.
within a dozen. If you were to
Yeah.
test a whole box, I feel like we're seeing that range of compression, whatever is acceptable at the manufacturer standard for like plus minus of compression. I mean, I think we're seeing some overall tightening in the industry, and that's probably because there's a machine out there now that can tell you what's in the box. Imagine that.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember a day where they didn't even put the compression on the side of the box, and even today, some manufacturers don't have it on their actual
I
boxes. Um,
I think the
but,
vast majority don't.
yeah, that's crazy to me. That is absolutely crazy to me. Um, you have a ball fitting, even if you didn't have, right? Not everyone has this. I know one of your avenues is you're trying to get this into serious golf instruction, like in other words, where people are actually, wanting to get better. We own a place called, or we're partners in a place called the Golf Place, where that's really what it is. It's not, it's a social place, but it's 8 bays of where people come to get absolutely better at what they do, for sure, right? Um, that's a perfect location for one of these devices, right? But even if you didn't have one of these, right, the Rimac press or whatever, you have a way to fit a golf ball and test compression. Talk to us about how you do that.
Well, if we were to, let's just say we sent you a golf ball that was 55 compression, and we sent you another one that was around 70, one in the mid 80s, and one at 100. So you would actually have four balls. That's all you would have, four distinct balls, but they would cover quite a wide range. And then any student that comes into your place, whether for club fitting or for a lesson or whatever, you would simply ask that student to hit a driver, a 7-iron, a pitching wedge, and a 56, and to hit each ball with those four clubs. Now, a really good golfer will just take 16 shots, there's the data, and you're done, right? But for the most people, you might have to hit each ball maybe 4 or 5 times. And then you would pick the one or two balls that were what you just considered that were hit flush. And that's the data you would look at. And then with those balls, you would go back and you would look at the distance, the spin rate, the apex, the launch angle, um, the total distance, all of those things. You just would look at the data, and very quickly you would determine for a given student that potentially the 70 compression ball seems to be giving them the best combination. From that time on, they should be playing with 70 compression balls, and you should be teaching them with 70 compression balls. You should be doing club fitting with 70 compression balls. But you would have started the whole thing with the Rimac number.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, like, why every serious pro shop and every serious, top instructor, whatever they define that as top, right? Why they don't have one of these things, right? Think about how it would you come into our studio and we say to you, "Hey, what ball do you play?" And you're like, "Oh, I play, whatever, super soft, firm, whatever the traditional, names are, right? Or descriptors are." And then you ask them, like, why do they do that? Why do they play that? You just ask them some questions around that. And then you have them hit a few of their balls. And then you go right into kind of this testing mechanism, right? Or this testing protocol, let's call it. I got to believe that would be a differentiator for that instruction firm or that pro shop or all the above, right? I mean, am I missing something here?
No, I think, you see, you've been at this long enough. If we're correct, and it's just the physics, it has nothing to do with the machine. If we're correct, not long from now, everybody is going to want to play with balls with the compression that they have determined is optimum for them. Now, whether they
Right.
get it from the manufacturer, whether they get it from us, whether they use a machine, that doesn't really matter. What really matters is just the underlying physics. So you're absolutely correct. I think that it's gonna be the foundation for everything, and if you're running an instruction operation, you would totally distinguish yourself from all of your competitors if everything began with the ball.
Yeah, it's like it's beginning with the end in mind, right? It's the idea. Like I equate it to shafts. Like I have a club fitting certification that's probably 25 years old. When I took my test, man, there were like 6 shafts, right? Extra stiff to
Uh-huh.
senior flex. That was it, right? Today there are 2,600 different shafts so that you can really dial in the student to no matter what they have going on, no matter what they want to do with a golf ball, there's a shaft that can get them there. It's the same thing with golf balls, right? Like if you're playing the incorrect ball, you're not playing your best game, right? And if you're playing an inconsistent level of balls, then you know what you're going to get. The physics are the physics. And, forget just putts. Your chips are going to be different. Your carry differences are going to be different on a shot by shot, hole by hole basis. And there is not a serious golfer out there that wants to hear any of that. They want just the opposite. They want everything to be consistent. They want to live and breathe. Everything is the same. So we got to figure out how to get this, out there to more people. We're definitely getting one of these things, man, in our main location here because I can absolutely see the differentiation factor, and I can definitely see people appreciating the fact that we're the ones, Imagine Golf, that turned them onto it. So it's going to lead to more instruction for us and more referrals. So it's a no brainer for us. What's next for you guys? What's on the next for Rimac?
I think really going forward, really over the next year or so, we will be working with people that are generating data. Our job is just to really just give you the machine, and with the machine, you can get the number. But when people do the Ryman, the four ball, four club protocol that I just gave to you, that's gonna generate a lot of data over the next year, and I think for us, the big challenge is gonna be to help people interpret that data, and after a year or so, it may be very, very clear that there are certain trends, that point to which balls people ought to be using under what circumstances, and that's gonna be a fascinating area, and it'll be driven partly by us, but largely by people in your line of work, by influencers, by writers, researchers, you name it. But they're going to learn a lot using this number.
Yeah. Um, Before I let you guys go, talk to us about some of the I've been around professional golfers for a long time, and I really see two different types of professional golfers. I see the complete data nerd that they are, every ball they're looking at the launch monitor and they're working on fractions, right? And then I see the guys that are like field players and super stereotype and super almost like superstitious almost, right? And they believe in the data, but they don't look at the data with that same level of intensity. Do you see like from the better PGA? I wouldn't see better. Do you see from PGA Tour players more interest in this level of detail?
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, when it comes down to, rotations of a golf ball for dollars, I think anyone at the top level of in this world, whether you collegiate all the way up to the pro level, um, this is their livelihood. So to me, it seems like a no-brainer that you would be interested in exactly what is going to happen with your golf ball. Because, like I just said, I mean, you're talking about half a rotation turning into, big dollars.
Well, yeah, JJ Spawn's
Yeah,
putt on the 18th in the 2025 Players, it was a 30-foot putt that stopped 3 inches short of the hole. Okay, that's 3 inches,
yeah,
and it meant that 3 inches meant $1.775 million. So there you have it, over
yeah.
$500,000 an inch. So if you don't have the data, $500,000 an inch is a lot to lose.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like, I mean, I always say, you've
Yeah,
heard me say it before. I mean, this is a game founded on consistency. And the only things in golf that you can control are the golf balls and the clubs. I mean, everything else is inconsistent: wind, green speeds, weather, all that other stuff. So I can't imagine why you would purposely introduce inconsistency into a situation that already is inconsistent enough so that you could have a little bit more of a chance.
Yeah, so Daniel, if you've learned one thing
yeah. That I mean that.
from your first tee off on the first hole to your last putt on the 18th, don't change your ball unless you scratch it up on a, cart path.
Yeah, because when
Yeah,
you reach
it's
into the
funny you say
bag
that,
and
man.
play
When we do
Russian
playing
roulette, it's
lessons.
ugly.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, man. When we do playing lessons, we have 4 instructors and we have a very, set way that we evaluate. Like, we don't play with it. It's not play with a pro day. It's get a playing lesson, right? So, we're playing 9
Right.
holes with the individual, and we're monitoring everything they're doing, and we are amazed by what you just said. Number 1, people just have no regard for whatever ball they're playing, no rhyme or reason right behind it, and change balls like it's nothing, and
I mean,
change
it's wild.
manufacturer. It is wild. It is absolutely you wouldn't do that in any other sport and not know. My wife and I used to play, she still does, but we used to play a lot of tennis, right? You can bounce a tennis ball pretty readily, pretty easily, and know that this ball's dead, this ball's not dead, this ball's new, this ball's a different manufacturer, this ball's going to bounce. But golf balls, clearly, you don't have that ability to bounce them, but they definitely feel different to most golfers off the club, and they certainly perform different. And back to the consistency comment, if everything about golf is supposed to be consistent, then wouldn't like, it's not like you're changing different, you don't have 4 7-irons in your bag, right, from different manufacturers. Why in the world would you introduce 4 different golf balls?
Right.
So we got to figure that out, man, because it's definitely hurting scores for sure. There's no doubt about that. And and back to the point where, hey, it's not whenever I miss a putt, it's not me, it's the ball. Well, maybe you could, put some science into some of that anyway.
Yes, you'd certainly wanna know if your ball stops short. Our real big discovery is, in fact, the impact of compression on putting and chipping. That was a total surprise to us because
Yeah.
really, everyone just says, "Okay, which one am I gonna drive the farthest?" Well, great. Actually, 2 or 3 yards on a 300-yard drive is pretty irrelevant compared to all the other factors that Booth mentioned. But at the same time, 1 or 2, 3 inches, for many people, half the strokes on their scorecard, that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Anything I missed? Anything you guys wanted to talk about that I didn't I try to prepare for the call because, I'm excited for it. Anything I missed that you guys wanna bring up and talk about?
I just would say start generating data, because when you start generating the data, then you're gonna
Alright.
have your own story to tell, and it's gonna be a very, very powerful story.
Yeah. Alright, that's fair. I'll take that to heart, and, we actually just started creating a AI persona golf instructor. So this golf instructor lives in, in the cloud basically, and we feed all of our data. So I'll do 40,000 my 40,000th lesson this year. I wish I could have all that data into AI, but I think we have like
I bet.
4,000 lessons. Yeah, right. I think we have like 4,000 lessons underneath this belt, if you would, for lack of a better, and we do all of our lesson recaps through it. So this persona has a really good understanding of not only what we do at Imagine, but all the data that no different than like a Tesla, right? Tesla, every mile you drive reports back, data to the mothership. So that's really what we're trying to do here. So um, I think we could do just that with the ball data as well, right? We could test everyone when they first come in. We can test people on the golf course. We could test people in the sim, and then we could correlate that to lower scores as well. And yeah, and I'm going to take you up on some of those challenges of like the waterlogged balls because that drives me crazy when I see people playing them or the reload balls crack me up, man. They're cheap, all right, but like anything else, you get what you pay for. Uh, so, gentlemen, look, it was an
Well,
absolute pleasure.
while you're at it, put a few in the
Yeah.
freezer. Put a few in your ice box too.
Yeah. Well, you know what? So that's so funny, man. Remember the whole craze where you were supposed to play with warm balls, right? And they had like this little compartment thing that you could put your balls in, and that was a big deal, especially in the Phil Northeast. I'm sure that has some fact. Does it really have a big factor on it if the balls are cold versus warm?
We haven't done enough testing to be able to give you a general statement on that, but
Yeah.
it may turn out to be less than you think, and it may
Mm.
turn out that either colder or hotter may make more difference. It may not be a parabola. So this is an area also where you can generate data. Just make some room in your ice maker and put some balls in there, and then test them and compare them with the balls before you put them in. And then when you're having dinner and you're keeping it warm, put a few balls in there as well.
Yeah, well, right about now, the only balls I have in my freezer are ice balls for bourbon, and they're shaped like golf
Yep.
balls. And I've been married 30 years. If I go home and I put golf balls in the freezer, it's going to be a problem. So I appreciate the advice. I'm going to pass on that one though. But look, gentlemen, it was an absolute pleasure. If you're ever getting out in the Philadelphia area, absolutely look me up. Would love to see you guys out in the golf course. I'll be reporting back to you on what's happening with. I think we're going to make it part of our repertoire when someone comes in, especially our better players. We're going to use this machine and get them to a golf ball, just like we do with equipment. Get them equipment that is suited better for them and better for their game, not what they used to do years ago or anything like that. The way they present now, and we'll see what happens. I got to believe it's a win for both of us. So thank you very much for being on, and let's do this again soon.
Thanks very much for
Yeah,
your
we
time.
appreciate the time. This was fun.
Fun to chat with you.
All right, guys. All right, then. That's today's podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the follow button wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check out our site, imaginegolf.com. Check out our YouTube page at Imagine Golf, and we're on all the social media platforms on the same at Imagine Golf. And here's to getting you the swing and the game that you've always imagined. Hey, Daniel here. Look, let's be honest. We all have that one golfer in our one or two golfer in our lives who is one bad round away from throwing a club, snapping a shaft, or even worse than yet, buying new clubs for a bad golf game. Or maybe even that golfer is you. This holiday season, stop guessing and start getting better. Right now at Imagine Golf, we're offering up to 20% off all golf lessons and gift cards through the end of the year. Whether it's a single tune-up or a full season transformation, give the gift of lower scores and more fun on the course this year. Because at the end of the day, a better swing lasts way longer and a better game than just a box of balls. Visit imaginegolf.com today and grab your gift cards and save. Imagine Golf, because golf just doesn't have to be that hard.